Story 1. I was at the hospital for a sodium blocker test to figure out what was wrong with my heart. I was actually awake when I died. I told the doctor that it felt like I was in a car going down a railroad track. But in reality, my heart was starting to have a big problem. All of a sudden, my whole life flashed before my eyes, and I didn't like what I saw. It was like a super fast movie playing in my head. Then in the blink of an eye, I was flying above this amazing place called the Smoky Mountain National Park. It was so beautiful. And then just like that, I was in this warm, golden field. I could hear whispers and voices all around me. I felt so loved and cozy. It was like love was the only thing that mattered. We were all connected like one big ball of love energy. The beings with me said it wasn't my time to stay there, though. They said I had to go back. I thought they were crazy. Who would want to leave a place filled with so much love? As I looked around, I noticed this bright light all around me. And there was this grid thing that connected everything. It was like I had a string going through my whole body, and it was connected to everything and everyone else. Then, in another flash, I woke up on a cold table in a room full of people wearing white clothes. I couldn't hear anything, and I didn't even know who I was. It was so confusing. I looked around and thought I was stuck in a messed up dream. I just wanted to wake up and go back to where I was before. But then I saw a monitor with my name on it, and suddenly everything came back to me. I remembered who I was and why I was there. I knew I'd been sent back because my kids needed me. After this crazy experience, I couldn't sleep for 2 days. I had to write down everything that happened. I wrote about why I was here and how I wanted to change as a person. I knew I had to move to the Great Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, so I moved, got divorced, changed my religion, and even discovered some new abilities I had. I became a kinder and more patient person. This story was shared by Rachel C. and happened in 2004. Story 2. For the past 2 years, I've been dealing with a foot injury. My doctor gave me these new pain meds that aren't like those strong ones that can be addictive. On January 1st, 2021, I was doing some yoga and meditation on the floor. I had these rocks in my hands like a mala, ruby, and garnet. All of a sudden, those rocks got very hot. While I was meditating, I had this quick moment where I saw all my past and present lives. It was like a reminder of all the different lives I've lived, and it felt totally natural to remember them. I was using this mantra to help me focus. It was something like, I know what I want, I know who I am, I need your help, angels and universe, to make my dreams come true. But then, my son called me and I had to stop what I was doing. I thought I could just get up quickly and act normal, but that was a big mistake. I got super dizzy and tried to hold on to a door frame to keep myself steady. Everything started to get all wavy, like when you're lying down in a boat and the waves are gently rocking you. There was this really bright light above me, almost like a star, but really close. The light was shining these beautiful purple and white rays. It was actually pretty nice there. I saw and felt my body just kind of slip off my shoulders, like a sleeve or a soft shell falling to the floor. I'm not sure if I saw any beings. I literally felt like I was separate from my body, but I wasn't scared. It was like there were 2 different parts of me. There was the me standing up, and then there was my body lying on the floor. My body just slipped off of me like a sleeve or a coat. Then I heard my son calling me over and over again. Mom, are you okay? I was trying to get back to my body. It felt like I was going back in through my mouth, kind of like when you suck a drink through a straw. I finally got back into my body and tried to settle back inside my chest. I was scared for my son and didn't want him to see me all passed out. Later, he told me that it seemed like my body was having crazy shakes, like seizures. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have made it back. That light was like a big warm hug, so cozy and comforting. This story was shared by Vicky and happened in 2021.
Story 3. I was in the hospital waiting for hip surgery. I was lying on the operating table and chatting with the anesthesiologist when suddenly everything went pitch black. When the lights came back on, the operating room was totally empty. I was so confused. I hopped off the table and tried to find an exit. But when I opened the door, whoosh, I fell right onto some grass. I landed in the Willamette National Cemetery in Portland, Oregon, and I was still wearing my hospital gown. It was strange because nobody could see me. I started walking towards a shelter where they hold funerals for veterans. There was a huge gathering happening there. My wife and stepdaughter were crying their eyes out. I started freaking out when I realized it was my own funeral. I tried to get their attention, but it was like I was invisible. And to make things even creepier, there was complete silence. No sound at all. And then bam, darkness again. This time, though, I could see things from a different perspective. I was watching my parents arguing in a room with white concrete walls. It was like I was inside my mom's womb or something. I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but it felt like I was being shown all these different scenes that went on forever. It was very intense, but I'm going to keep that part for a book I'll write someday. Anyway, after all that craziness, I woke up in a chair. There was a nurse in a uniform with a dark blue sweater. She was standing in a dark room and started talking to me. But here's the weird part. Her mouth wasn't moving. She told me that I had to go back because it wasn't my time to leave this world yet. My mind was blown. I passed out again and then woke up on a comfy couch. I couldn't move at all. Later, I realized that this must be part of my coma experience. This went on for quite some time. Then I saw this super bright light, like staring straight at the sun. I opened my eyes and my wife was crying while clutching my dog tags and holding my hands. She could barely say a word, but she managed to say, "Hi." The doctors explained to me that I had a really serious problem called a massive pulmonary embolism and an ischemic stroke. I'd even stopped breathing. They rushed me from the Veterans Administration to a fancy medical university hospital for open-heart surgery to remove the clots. It was a close call. They called it a widowmaker. But I made it through. The doctor said I'm a real-life miracle. This story was shared by Thomas C. and happened in 2016. Story 4. Out of nowhere, a fancy Cadillac CTS crashed into me while I was riding my moped. The car was going really fast, over 40 miles per hour, and it didn't stop at the red light. I got seriously hurt. They had to fly me in a helicopter to a special hospital. I was bleeding a lot in the helicopter. When I got to the hospital, I was rushed into surgery. I remember feeling so calm and peaceful as I walked into this huge, bright tent. Inside, it was like a dream. There were animals and people all getting along and having a great time. Everyone looked young, like they were all under 30 years old. They were all so happy and laughing. It was a place I had never been to before, and I didn't want to leave. Then I saw someone I recognized. It was my grandpa, but he looked really young, like he was in the military. I was so excited to see him. He told me to sit next to him, so I happily sat down. We talked for what felt like forever. I remember telling him how much my legs hurt, and how scared I was that I wouldn't be able to walk again. But my grandpa reassured me that everything would be okay. I always trusted him, so I knew I would be fine. But then, I started hearing my mom's voice calling my name. She kept calling me over and over again. I knew I had to go because I didn't want her to be upset. I told my grandpa that I had to leave. It was a tough decision, but I got up from the chair and followed my mom's voice. Suddenly, I woke up from this super long nap. My mom was whispering my name and telling me how much she loved me. It was like I was back in the real world again. So after a few weeks, a nurse came up to me and asked if I went anywhere while I was in my nap coma, and I told her I did. I started telling the nurse and my parents all about where I went and what I saw. It was a crazy story. This story was shared by Drew B. and happened in 2012. Story 5. I took some medicine in my room and it made me feel really sick afterwards. Slowly, I started to lose consciousness. Then something strange happened. It was like I was watching a super fast movie review, but I could see every little detail. The review showed my whole life from when I was a baby to now. I was just watching like a bystander, but I didn't realize that I had actually died. Next thing I knew, I was back in my room, but something was different. My senses were super sharp, and I could feel everything around me. I turned around and saw someone lying on the bed, and I instantly knew it was me. I got really scared all of a sudden. Then I felt a strong force pulling me into a black hole, and as I looked back at my body, time seemed to stretch out. After a little while, I ended up in a beautiful place with glowing trees. Each glowing ball of light was a person or a consciousness, and somehow I became one of those light balls, part of this amazing world. In this place, we didn't need to talk with words. We could understand each other's thoughts. Some thoughts were about mistakes we made, while others were about doing the right things. But no matter what, everything could be forgiven. I was feeling really calm and peaceful, like everything was just right. Suddenly, this amazing ball of light appeared in front of me and turned into a person. She told me that I shouldn't be there and that I still had a lot of things to do. I didn't want to leave because I knew I would miss this wonderful feeling. But then she showed me all my family and friends and all the things I still needed to do. I couldn't help but cry. I asked if I could come back here again someday, and she said I had to wait for the right time. Then, all of a sudden, I felt like I was being pulled back into my body. It was a really intense feeling. This is my experience, but it's hard to explain all the little details. They felt so real, even more real than real life. I still can't tell if it was just my imagination or if it actually happened. The memory is stuck in my mind so clear that I can't forget it. I've read about other people's near-death experiences, and a lot of them have similar things happen. I'm sharing my story to see if other people think it was real or not. I think I'll always be curious about it until the day I die. This story was shared by Anonymous and happened a long time ago.